Recognized for 3 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Conyers, and to my friends on the other side of the aisle who have expressed passion about passing this. You're good Americans. I respect your position. I respectfully disagree. We have to defend our country from attacks from outside. I voted, along with other members of this Congress, right after 9/11 for the United States to defend itself. But it's equally important that we not lose our freedoms and our constitutional protections while we're engaged in that defense. And we take an oath not only to defend the Constitution, but we have to keep in mind that that oath and that Constitution is really part of America's first line of defense. You know, I think of what it's like to make a phone call. Any one of us right now. We make a phone call, even from this Capitol, call a friend overseas, start talking about matters relating to what's happening in America, what's happening in the world. The way this law is written, without changes, those phone calls could be intercepted. They can not only be intercepted, but they can be downloaded, transcribed, and stored for future use by the government. I have a problem with that, and it's a great concern. What happens is that everyone then becomes suspect when Big Brother's listening. Now, I don't think that government should have the right to listen into people's phone calls unless there's a warrant. And then you to probable cause. That's what the Fourth Amendment's about. This bill doesn't have those protections. It extends government's authority to conduct surveillance of persons reasonably believed to be outside the United States for 5 years, and there's a blanket extension, which is an abdication of Congress's constitutional obligation to protect and defend the Constitution and to protect the civil liberties of all Americans. Now, given the information we know about our government's past abuse of surveillance authorities, if we pass this bill without any changes to ensure adequate congressional oversight and transparency, we're losing an opportunity. Since the amended FISA Act passed in 2008, the government's released very little information on how it uses the powers granted under this act. As the Electronic Frontier Foundation recently pointed out, nobody in the government is willing to answer questions about how many Americans' phone calls or emails have been or are being collected and read without a warrant under the authority of the FISA Amendment Acts. So Big Brother is not accountable. Even more disturbing is that it's well known that the government has violated the FISA Amendments Act despite the broad surveillance authorities it provides the government. A Freedom of Information request by the ACLU revealed that violations of the FISA Amendments Act and the Constitution continue to occur on a regular basis until at least March 2010. And according to the ACLU, the law is written so broadly that a phone call by a U.S. citizen to someone overseas discussing general... Half a minute?
30 more seconds. Gentleman's recognized for 30 seconds.
A phone call by a U.S. citizen to someone overseas discussing general foreign affairs could be listened in on. Section 702 of this act allows the government to intercept the communication of any U.S. citizen absent probable cause in subversion of their Fourth Amendment rights. So Big Brother's listening. There's no doubt that Congress is abdicating its responsibility when it passes a blanket extension of this bill without knowing how many Americans have been affected by surveillance under FISA or the government's interpretation of the law. Without vital civil liberty safeguards and minimum of transparency, an extension should be rejected. Big Brother is now unaccountable. Let's vote against Big Brother. Let's vote to protect the Fourth Amendment. Yield back.